you've probably gotten some questions from your kids wondering if what happened to that 13-year-old girl could happen to them and why it happened.
Here to talk with us about how to get through those conversations is Dr. Marcia Slattery. You're the head of UW's Anxiety Center. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So I imagine parents are already facing these questions. I mean, our photographer Mark said his daughter asked the other day, why do people take kids? I mean, how do you even begin to answer those questions?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you talk with your kids and you really listen. What have they heard? What have they understood about what happened and what their fears are? Because oftentimes we assume how they're feeling or what they're thinking, and actually we're quite off the mark. So listening to what their fears are, validating those worries and fears is the most important first step.
We want to make sure people can hear you. Do you have your mic back? I just want to make sure that mic is on so people can hear you loud and clear here. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. This is such important information, and you know, there are a lot of parents really kind of thinking through this and processing this as well. How do we deal with our own feelings about this first, and then get through to our kids second? Because that's an important step, right?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So as much as what we talk to our kids about, it's important of how we talk about it with our kids. So maintaining a sense of calmness, really acknowledging the risk about these things that happen, these tragedies unfortunately happen, but also give these kids perspective, much like the tragedies of a school shooting, for example. At giving them the message that these are very rare, but that they do occur, so it's important for us to have a safety plan, to talk about the plan, to practice the plan, but also, most importantly, to really talk to them about all the ways that they are safe, both at home, at school, in their activities, etc., to really help them embed it more into a context of the relative risk rather than hyper-focusing on the risk. But all the time, you make a very good point about also checking in with ourselves about how we're conveying that message, just as important.
And how we're processing it.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
There were a lot of positive aspects to the end of this story, the people helping people on the sides of this story. Do you want to highlight some of those things?
I think it's a really good point. Again, drawing upon the strengths, drawing upon the positivity of these sorts of experiences that happen, how we join together, how we keep each other safe is a really important piece. Along that line, too, of kind of having the discussions, also monitoring how much the kids actually have exposure to the media about this. So if they're seeing over and over and over that this is happening on the TV and what their parents are discussing, it's going to seem like it's something that's very real and very likely to happen. So again, moderating the amount of media exposure is important, especially for younger children, but also having the discussion again more openly about what the risk is, attending to the risk, but putting it into the broader context of safety is really what's important.
And we have information, actual hard facts and data, if you want to share those with your kids, up on channel3000.com about how rare these situations are. So that's really important to get through.
Exactly.
Dr. Slattery, always great to have you on. Thanks for waking up.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us. All right, 6:09 your time now. There are some really scary statistics out this morning about just how deadly opioids are in this country. And we've passed a significant milestone, one that shows just how difficult it will be to ward off the epidemic. We'll share more on that after the break.
And you are